After several long months, over 10 rejected release candidate builds, and a boatload of new Java code, we are finally here. The first major update to the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus is about to launch as an OTA update, and I think it is amazing. You'll see for yourself in this video, but I'm going to state right now that the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus is hands down the most user-friendly gaming device on the market today by a long shot with this massive new update. We're going to cover two bases in this video. In this first part, I'm going to go over some of the new features of this new OTA update, and in the second part, I'm going to do my long-awaited new user guide. Not all of the new changes will be in the first part of the video, so you'll want to watch both parts to get the full picture. I'll also state that there are many codes hidden in this video, including codes for free RP2 units, so keep your eyes peeled if you've been wanting one for yourself. With that out of the way, let's start going over the biggest changes. The first big change is in the new user wizard. With this update, we gain access to 16 new apps that we can install, including the addition of the Ether SX2 emulator. One of the new cool features of this new user wizard is that it can now update your installed apps with newer versions that come with this OTA. I'll talk more about this in the guide portion of this video, but this is a cool feature for users to get app updates to some of the custom apps that are on this device, like the Dolphin emulator that Retroid uses. The second big change is with the Dolphin emulator. After letting the new user wizard update the custom Dolphin build for your 2 Plus, you will gain access to a fully configured setup for GameCube that will give you the best performance possible without the need to mess with any Dolphin settings. The current retail build lacks this configuration, making Dolphin much harder to use than it was supposed to be. The third change with this update is the ability to better configure your joysticks. By heading into the input section inside the handheld settings, you'll be able to find the input control option and the new joystick dead zone radius setting. This will allow you to have control over your joysticks and should improve the long-term use of the analog sticks in combination with the old joystick calibration. The fourth change is a small one, but we now have control over the backlight frequency to remove some high-frequency sounds that were bothering people. If you are not doing content creation, you should just leave this on the top option all of the time. And the fifth and largest change that came with this update are all of the features that were added to the Retroid Launcher. On the Launcher app side of things, we gain the ability to reposition apps. The icon layout has also been slightly modified to fill out more of the screen. If we head into the emulation section, you will find my favorite part of this update. Coming from the current retail firmware, this new update adds over 21 new systems to the front end for a total of 36 systems. Even for the systems that were included in the retail firmware, there have now been numerous improvements across the board, from the logic used to identify ROMs to the databases that are used for scraping. You'll also see that there's a new setup option in the UI, which includes some cool stuff that I'm going to skip over for now until we get to the new user guide portion of this video. Very high level, this new launcher can now launch ROMs inside the primary emulator chosen for each system. The front end now has several methods of making sure you end up with the correct box art for a game, even if your file names are not a perfect match to a database, from fuzzy name matching to file hashing. That last option is not something that you're going to see on other Android front ends, and it is a game changer when you see it in action. When you add a ROM directory with this new update, the system will try to automatically find exact matches for ROM titles and box arts. If the system cannot find an exact match or a fuzzy match based on the file name, it will attempt to calculate the hash of the file and match it against a database. This is a great feature if you're someone who plays English ROMs with file names that are not in English. The database used for this current version added something like 800,000 entries, so there's a good chance the system will get you sorted with the games that you add. There are a lot of other amazing features for this launcher, especially if you're someone who is a novice when it comes to emulation handhelds. In the next section of the video, you'll see how they all come together to make this device easier to use. Now that we've covered some of the bigger changes to this update, let's go over the new user guide. This guide assumes that you know absolutely nothing when it comes to emulation handhelds. After watching this video, you should be able to do just about anything that you could want that this device supports. I assume the newer Retroid Pocket 2 Plus orders will ship with 1.0.0.8 as standard, but if they do not, you will need to head into the settings and then into the updater to search for the new OTA update. After you are on 1.0.0.8, the system will automatically check for new updates for you, so this is a one-time thing. Now that you've updated your device, or you have purchased a device that ships with this update, it's time to talk about the requirements for this guide. Our internal storage is a limiting factor on the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, so I would encourage you to pick up a 32GB SD card for your device at a minimum. That would give you 32GB for the system and apps, and 32GB for games. SD cards are cheap these days, and I tend to use several smaller cards like 128 or 256 than bigger ones, so I'm never at that much of a loss if something goes wrong. With your SD card in hand, you are going to want to format it as EX-FAT inside your PC. You can also format the card inside the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, but the format will only be in FAT32. This will block you from being able to play ROMs that are over 4GB. I will show you how to format inside the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus if that's not a problem for you. To format an SD card inside the Retroid Pocket, head into Settings, then go to Storage, and then press on your SD card. In the top right-hand corner, press the 3 dots, and then open Storage Settings. From there, you can format your card. If you're booting up your Retroid for the first time on this update, you will have to go through the new user wizard. Even if you're coming from retail firmware to 1.0.0.8, you are going to want to head in here again to get new app updates. To do that, go into Settings, then Handheld Settings, and finally to Advanced. Select the option to re-enter the setup wizard, and you'll be back at this familiar screen. Now for new users to the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, there are a lot of apps here, and you might not know what all of them do. In my opinion, you should just use the Select All option so you never need to re-enter the wizard again while you are on this update. Any apps that you find that you do not need are easy to uninstall without having to jump back into this wizard later. In my case, I'm going to use the Select All option and continue. When you're asked to select your launcher, choose the RP2 Plus launcher option because there are some things that we need to do there. The system is going to pop you into a blank launcher. We are going to fill out the rest of this later, but for now, we are just going to add RetroArch. To do that, press the Add App button and scroll down until you see the app. There should be 2 of them if you installed all of the apps in the new user wizard. Add both of them now by pressing on them. Once they are added, you need to open the one that says AArch64. The application will finalize the installation process and ask you to grant permission. Do that and then quit out of RetroArch when it's done. Now head into Emulation. In there, you will find a button that says Setup. Click on that and then click on the option that says Create ROM Folders. When prompted, select Default SD card directory from the options presented to have the system create all of the folders that you're going to need for this device. Now that we have our folders created, it's time to start working on our SD card. Put the device to sleep and take out the SD card. We're going to do the next part on the PC, but you could do all of this on the device itself. It's just going to be a lot more work. When you open up the SD card on your PC, you should now see that we have a folder called Retroid Pocket Games. Inside this folder are 3 other folders. For now, let's worry about the ROMs folder. Inside here, you will find folders for all of the systems that are supported with this update. These directories are important and should not be renamed or changed. What you are going to do now is add your ROMs to these individual directories. If you do not have ROMs, I can't tell you how to go about getting them, but I will say that the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus works best with ROMs from the redump or no intro ROM sets. Those will give you the least amount of trouble with the ROM launcher on this device. In my case, I'm only going to add a few games inside each of these directories just for the sake of having everything populated for this guide. Once you've added all of your ROMs, it's time to talk about the main BIOS folder. There are 4 systems that require a BIOS in this update. These are PS1, PS2, Sega CD, and MSX. Neo Geo also needs a BIOS, but this is likely included in a ROM set that you would get. With the exception of MSX, I'm not going to do any direct links to this, but the BIOS files that you need are very easy to find. There's a GitHub repo that contains almost all of the BIOS that you could ever need. For MSX, simply download the zip package linked on the LibRetro website and copy over the folders that they tell you inside the BIOS directory on your SD card. For the other 3 systems, I'm going to list the file names of the BIOS files that I'm using on screen for you to see. Once you've added your BIOS files to the BIOS folder, you can go ahead and pop your SD card back into your device. Now, we're going to head back over to that setup menu, and this time, we're going to use the Move BIOS option. When prompted, use the default SD card directory option to have the system move your BIOS folders over to where they need to be. Now, we're going to add our systems. To do this, click the Systems button and you'll see a list of all of the systems that are currently supported. You can select only the systems that you want, but I'm going to use the All option for the sake of simplicity and to show off the full application. Once you hit OK, you will see that the systems are now added to this main window. Head into one of these systems and you will see a blank screen. Click on the ROM icon on the bottom and then click Add. If you followed the guide this far, you should see an option called Default SD Card Directory. Click that and then click Scan. The progress bar should start to fill up on the left side of your screen. Depending on the system that you're working on, you might also get prompted that the system was unable to automatically match some of your ROMs. If you see this, pick the OK option for the best results possible. Once this is done, the system should add all of your games and they should have their box art. If you are missing some artwork or the title is wrong, don't worry for now. We will come back to them in just a moment. For now, add all of the rest of your systems just like I showed you. Now that we've added all of our systems, it's time to go over some of the manual corrections that we can make to games that were not added correctly. To do this, select a game and hold down the A button. You will have 5 options available to you in this new menu. If the file should not be added, you should use the Ignore This Game option. For example, if the system added a CD-based game with all of the tracks that are included with it as separate games, you can ignore each of them so you only have one icon per game. If the name of the game is wrong, you can scroll down and try to use the Force MD5 check option. If you are using a redump or no intro ROM, this option should work without issues. If you have a game with a missing box art, you can also use the Force Box Art Scrape option. If that fails, it might be because your ROM title is incorrect. If your ROM title has some characters that you know should not be there, you can use the Rename This Game option to correct the title. If the title matches one in the game database, the artwork will automatically populate for you. If all of that fails, you can use the Box Cover option. This will allow you to point the launcher to box art on your device, or you can use the internet to download them. For this guide, I'm going to use the GamesDB option. The launcher should load the GamesDB inside Google Chrome. All you need to do here is find the correct box art and hold your finger over it. A window should pop up and you'll need to select the Download Image option. When prompted, choose the Download button and you are good to go. Head back into the launcher with the back button and you should see your new box art displayed. Let's do a recap. We now know how to create the directories on our SD card, as well as where to add our ROMs and BIOS. We know how to add ROMs to this front end, and we also know how to correct any potential errors with the Per Game Settings window. Now let's focus on getting these games off the ground. Out of the 36 systems in this front end, most of them open up inside RetroArch. As you recall from before, our RetroArch app is installed, but it's not currently configured. Let's solve that problem now. Head into the Setup menu again and press the RetroArch Setup button. In the window that pops up, select the OK option. This is going to replace the default RetroArch configuration file with one that is pre-configured for this device. It is a big improvement over the default configuration, and it should have everything that you need ready to go. The new configuration file comes with some hotkeys that I want to go over now. To demonstrate this, let's go to the GBA folder and try to launch a game. A window should come up telling you that you do not have the default core installed. To solve this problem, just click the Auto button and the system will take care of this for you. At this point, the game should boot up correctly without any issues. You will see that there are touchscreen controls on your screen, but these will go away the moment that you touch any of your physical buttons. This is a fail-safe measure if there's ever a time when your controls stop working. Now let's go over the hotkeys, and I've made the following slide to help you see everything at a glance. I want to point out that the order matters for all of these hotkeys. Select held down is our master hotkey button that makes all of this possible. To do any of the actions except for open menu, this button is held down while you press the second button. Let's quickly go over each of these one by one so you can see how they are used. First, we have open menu. You can open the menu at any time by using Start plus Select. The order matters here, and you will need to make sure that Start is pressed and held before Select. We don't need to worry about anything else here, so let's carry on. Our next hotkey is Save State. This can be done with Select held down and a single press of L1. We will then be able to load up that state with Select held down and a single press of R1. There are other times when you'd like to fast forward through the games that you're playing. For this, hold down Select and press R2 to toggle fast forward. On the opposite side of this, we have Rewind. Rewind is disabled by default due to the negative impact that it can have on emulation performance. However, it is easy to enable on a system-by-system basis. Using GBA as an example, I will show you how this is done. Start out by going into the menu and then go down to Rewind. Press the A button here to turn on Rewind support. After this, press the B button to back out one menu and go down to Override. I want rewind support for all GBA games, so I will select the Save Core Overrides option. Whenever we load any GBA game from this point forward, the rewind option hotkey will work. We can use this same process to add rewind support to any system that we want. Let's do a recap of what we just learned. We now know how to import a pre-configured RetroArch profile. We know how to automatically have the Retroid system install missing RA cores for us, and we know how to use our hotkeys. This constitutes the basic level of understanding that you need to utilize most of the systems on this device. In our later sections, we will cover some of the more advanced systems that are supported on the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus and go over how to configure them. For now, let's take our attention back to the main Retroid launcher. Back out of the front end if you're still in it with the B button until you see our main launcher window with our two RetroArch applications. Here, I'm going to add the remainder of the applications to this list, excluding anything that I do not need. Once you have your apps added, you may want to reposition them. To do this, select a game and hold down the A button. In the menu that pops up, select the Reposition option. You can use this option to change the order of your app with the left and right arrow keys. When you are done, press the A button to save your layout. Now that the launcher is set the way we like, the final thing to do is set our gamer tag. With your finger, press the top left-hand icon to open the Personal Center menu. In the box that says Nickname, type in your name. If you want to add a custom icon, all you have to do is press the circle icon and choose the option that says Album. This will open the file browser, and you can use it to path over to the icon that you want to use on your device. For simplicity, I'm going to select one of my box art covers as my icon and use the zoom function to make a custom icon. When you are done, press the check mark and your profile picture will be set. Now it's time to configure our Google Play Store. You can add your main Google account to this device without any issues, but the best practices are a bit different. It is worth creating a separate Google account that you only use for this device or devices like this. You can then use the Family Library feature in Google Play to link your two Google accounts as a family. The purchases from your main Google account will then be accessible on the account that you use for this device. This is what I do on my own devices. Once you have your Google account entered, the system should automatically handle updating your apps in the background with new versions periodically. You'll also be able to get future app updates from future OTA updates. For the last section of this guide, we're going to work on more advanced use cases on the RP2 Plus. These will include both emulators and games that come with the device that may require additional setup. By default, the Open RTC2 game will not work without some additional setup. I've linked a guide in the description box below that shows you what you need to get this going. Everything is available online. Serious Sam is another game that requires some additional setup to get going. This one is easier than OpenRTC2, as you'll only need to make one directory on your internal storage with game files that you can also get online. Open Lara is another title that will not open without additional work. The link that I've provided down below goes over everything that you'll need to get this running, and the game performs very well on this device. Before we can start working on Sega Saturn, we need to make sure that we're using the most up-to-date version of the emulator. To do this, open the app inside the Google Play Store and make sure to check if there are any updates. The current version as of this video is version 1.7.6. After you've updated your emulator, you are now ready to configure it for the best performance. To get started, press the three lines in the top left-hand corner of your screen and press Settings. In the Select Game Directory window, make sure you add the default directory that we set earlier with the Retroid front end. There are a few options here that we need to change, so let's go over them one by one. Under Graphics, turn on the FPS option and hide the status bar. Under Player 1 Input Device, pick Choose and select the Retroid Station controller. You might find some situations where you'll want to use a different controller configuration, but this is the one that I use. When you get to analog L and R, feel free to skip. After that, go down to Sound. Set the sound engine to Legacy and the sound time to Real Time. After that, you are done. Dreamcast is very simple to set up on the 2 Plus, but we need to add our game directory before we can play any games. Start by opening the ReDream emulator on your device and choose the Continue in Light Mode option when prompted. Once here, head over to Library and choose Add Directory. Scroll down until you see Storage/SD card 0. The very next value should be the one for your SD card. Select it and then navigate to your Dreamcast ROM directory and add it. Once that is done, close the ReDream emulator and open the Retroid front end again. Click on Setup and then click on Standalone Setup. Select ReDream from the list and then everything is done. Mupen64 is a very simple emulator to configure. Head back into the Standalone Setup menu that we just used and click Mupen64. After that, everything is done. For PSP, our process is going to be similar to Mupen64. The only difference is that we need to load up the emulator one time and then close it. After that, head into the Standalone menu again and select PPSSPP. We will use the front end to launch our ROMs, so we don't need to worry about adding them inside this emulator. That's everything for the PSP section. For PS1, we have a few things that we need to do. First, start by clicking on DuckStation inside the Standalone Setup window. Before we can launch games with the front end, we need to do some configuration inside DuckStation itself. Load up DuckStation and head to Game Directories under the left side menu. Click the plus sign in the corner and then open the menu in the top left corner. Navigate to your SD card directory and then navigate to your PS1 ROMs folder. When you're done, back out. The last thing that you need to do is add your BIOS file from earlier. Use the Import BIOS option in the main menu and then make your way to the BIOS folder on your SD card. Select your PS1 BIOS file and then you are good to go. And make sure everything is working correctly by launching a game. After that, you are done with PS1. Our process for configuring PS2 is the same as PS1. Start by using the EtherSX2 option inside the Standalone Setup menu. You can do this on a fresh install of the emulator without having to open it. After you're done with this, we need to load up the emulator and then add our game directory by using the Add Game Directory option at the bottom of the screen. Navigate over to your default PS2 directory and use the Select option. After that, we need to add our BIOS. Open the left menu and go to App Settings. Scroll over until you see the BIOS tab and click it. Use the Import BIOS option and navigate to your PS2 BIOS file. Finish by making sure your BIOS is selected on this screen. I have one tip for this system before we move on. If you find that a game cannot run with these settings, you can try and manually adjust the underclock settings to try and increase the performance. To do this, open the pause menu with Start and Select, and then go to the top menu to look at the game-specific settings. When you are here, all you need to do is change your EE cycle rate to -2 and your EE cycle skip to 3. If that also doesn't work, you can go into the summary section of the per game settings and scroll down until you see the Set Safe preset option. Hopefully that helps. Our final emulator to go over in this video is Dolphin. With this update, you will have an emulator installed called Dolphin for Handheld if you picked it in the new user wizard. This build is completely configured with the best base settings to make the most games playable as possible. These are the settings that I've used to test over 178 games. Of those games that I tested, 121 of them ran well with these settings. You do not have to interact with the emulator itself if you don't want to, but I will show you how you can fine-tune performance if you want, and I will use specific examples for you to follow. Starting out, load up the Dolphin for Handheld emulator and accept the permissions. Click the plus sign in the bottom corner and navigate to the GameCube folder on your SD card. After the games are added, make sure everything is working correctly by launching a game. To make a save state or load a save state with this emulator, swipe up from the bottom of your screen and press the back button. A menu will open up on the left side of your screen with all of the quick settings that you need. The default settings render GameCube games at half the native resolution to make the most games playable as possible with the least amount of configuration by the user. There are situations where games do not need to run at this resolution and can instead run at native resolution, even though the native resolution exceeds the physical size of this screen. To make these changes, simply go to the Quick Settings option in the left menu and change the Internal Resolution slider. After that, back out with the B button and check your FPS to see if there are any negative impacts from that change. If there are not, you can enjoy the game with higher quality. It's a little annoying, but there's one further step that you need to take if you want to finalize this choice. Open the Quick Settings menu again and set the resolution back to 0.5x and then close the game. After you're back in the main window, hold your finger down on the game that you want to edit and choose the Custom Game Settings option. Once here, go to Graphics and then go to Enhancements. Click on Internal Resolution and change the resolution to the one that you tested. Finish by clicking the Save icon. If you do not want to do this and instead leave the option in the quick menu to 1x or some other value, you will end up changing that setting for all games, which will give you worse performance overall. Following these steps to make a custom profile when you want to increase the resolution will ensure that you will always have the best performance possible. There are other instances where some games will manually disable some settings that can improve performance. One example of this is Wind Waker. If we load up that game, you can see that 2 of these options are disabled when I go into the Quick Settings window. You will have 2 options for this. You can do what we just did and enable these options in the custom game settings that I showed, or you can just enable them manually when you're playing the game. Sometimes these settings that are disabled can break parts of the game, so you should be comfortable with toggling them if you run into any issues. And that's about all you need to know for this emulator. And that concludes the new user guide portion of this video. I hope this helps those of you that have the device or are waiting for one to ship. If you have any questions about anything that I talked about here, leave them down below. This was a lot of work to put together and a lot more work to test, so please show your support by subscribing if you can. Happy gaming, everyone. Taki out.